Cool. Yeah, so I'm Ella King. I'm the Statutory Services Admin Lead here at Be First, and I'm joined by my colleague from the Council, Benjamin Wedlake. Next slide. Cool. So Be First, if anyone doesn't know, we are a regeneration company wholly owned by the London Borough of Barking and Dagenham Council. And one of the many things we do is we cover the statutory planning services. So like planning applications, we cover some building control, land charges, street naming and numbering, things like that. And I guess one of the big things that we are known for is being top nationally for determinations in time. So if you just click next, that's the table that we always show. So we are a high performing planning team, but we are quite lean, and that means that we aren't always able to cover everything in as much detail as we want. So if you flick to the next slide. With the Digital Planning Improvement Fund, it's really given us a chance to have a look at our data, see where we're at, and think going forwards how we'll better maintain data once we get it up to standard. Unknowingly to us, we had also been working towards providing some of this data in the schema through work with Plan X. So we were lucky in the fact that we had sort of looked over it and had begun to work towards that anyway. So our Article 4 data and conservation area data is already up. But with looking through the Digital Planning Improvement Fund, it really did flag up issues that we had with mainly our TPO data. So our Tree Preservation Order data just wasn't historically maintained to a standard that it should have been. And that's been our main focus since starting work on the project. My colleague Ben has been doing a lot of work sorting out the situation with the trees, and we've come up with quite an innovative method of doing our desk-based survey of the trees. And that's also a shout out to Richard, who's also done a lot of work in the GIS aspect. If you just go to the next slide. Cool. So now I'll just hand over to my colleague Ben if he's on the call.
Yeah, thank you. Guys, I'm just going to share my screen. So I got a couple of slides, that's all. Can I just double check and see a big red screen?
Yep.
Brilliant, thank you. So yeah, I'm Ben Wedlake. I've sort of been the GIS officer at the borough for about 2-3 years now. Prior to that, I spent the last 20 years in the GIS industry, either in the military, local government, utility, and yeah, been around the block really. With the presentation, we'll sort of just quickly run through how we sort of use GIS at the borough, the solution we sort of put in place for this project, and then sort of run through the case study of TPO data. So yeah, predominantly we've sort of been using Esri software for the last 14 years. Typical business cases where it's managing the land area, any sort of asset management system, and then also then the bespoke products. So Be First, the visualization of the Revit models, various dashboards to see performance data, emergency response applications as well. And yeah, just every day something new comes in and we try and put a solution in place. With that in mind, then what we sort of done was we put in a planning solution. So all our data sort of sits in Azure SQL Server. We publish all the map services with an ArcGIS server. So that creates lots of APIs. With that APIs, then we've embedded, like Ella said, conservation areas, Article 4s, listed buildings into the Open Systems Lab PlanX platform. So the idea is they just connect to our API, they import that into their app. So then when we update any data in LBVD, the changes will come through to them. And then what we've got up and running as well for the general members of the public, just to save them getting in touch with us. So if they have any queries, they can just go to this application that's sort of public facing, and then they can sort of see all the planning data there as well. So this is sort of the solution we put in place at the moment. The only thing we've really got outstanding is the TPO data. So yeah, there's a bit of a requirement, review the TPO data. Notice there's a lot of changes that have taken place over time, and there's not really been any change management within the data source. So we had a bit of a project where we sort of went through the TPOs. We're quite a small borough, so there was only about 130, 140 to look at. sort of extracted the mapping, georeference, so we put the map in a real world place, captured the data, whether it be a tree or polygon, and then we sort of attributed as per the Plan X schema. With that, then it was a case of done some mass updating. So, rather than putting the address and the UPRN, sort of done some spatial intersects just to save time as well. So that's what sort of created the TPO data. The next aspect then was sort of trying to support with desktop studies. With the desktop studies, as you can sort of see here, we use a combination. There's a product called National Tree Map. With National Tree Map, it's sort of an image classification where Blue Sky sort of every 2-3 years update the data set, extract the trees, the heights, and they create this data set. So for our borough, it's roughly about £500-600 to get every tree within the borough. So that's sort of supported with our sort of our green infrastructure system as well. So what we use Confirm, and what we did then, we just created a map or a visual for every TPO. And as you can sort of see here, our TPO document covers that, there's a batch of trees there on the western side, but there's a big building there at the moment. So there's probably been some sort of planning or something that's mitigated knocking all these trees down. But there's a reason now to take this TPO back and sort of update it. And we sort of done this for all our TPOs with a manual review. And then we sort of referred these to the tree officer, who will either, in some aspects, possibly cancel the TPO or update the mapping, update the documentation within. And that's sort of just a case study that we've been through the TPO. So that's where we're at, really. All the data is live, ready to go as well, and it's in the app. So, thank you. That's pretty much everything in a nutshell. So just stop sharing now, guys. So I don't know if you want to share your PowerPoint slides again. I don't know if you have any questions, guys, or if you're happy to jump on to the next presentation.
Thanks so much.
There's
one
question from Steve. Steve,
sorry, I didn't check the chat.
It's all right. No, that's what we're here for.
Yep.
Steve, do you want to come on and just pose it?
Yeah, no, it was just you said it was about £500 for a London borough. That's just based on the area of the borough, I'm guessing?
They do the number of trees.
Oh, do they? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll in the chat, guys, I'll just drop in the link, really. So I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with Blue Sky. Obviously with the aerial photography, we get that free just through the PSGA, or it's changed 50 times. Apologies, I probably said it wrong. So yeah, we get the aerial photography for free, but yeah, with the tree map then. And let me put another link in as well, just a bit of information. So yeah, share my screen here. So I don't know if you guys have seen that, but yeah, so effectively within the London borough, you put in your area, it'll select all the trees, export there. But for our borough, it's about £500-600. But it's really quick. Just if you just drop a shape file in, it'll give you a rough price for your area as well.
I think also with all this work that's been done now, we're still not fully finished with the TPOs in terms of if anyone has suggestions of good companies that we could reach out to regarding getting an in-person survey on the TPOs that we know have failed this first desk-based assessment, or TPOs that look like they need varying, things like that. We would really appreciate any contacts there. It's also a case of now knowing the best practice going forward to revoke or vary any of these TPOs, because it's not something that we as BEfirst have done in a very long time. So yeah, we would appreciate any guidance on that, and we are in the TPO working group for that sort of reason too. Yeah, and I guess the final takeaway is that the Digital Planning Improvement Fund project and that work that's being seen by senior management team on that project has renewed interest in other sort of digital projects within the council or within BEfirst. So we're looking at View City. We're trying to progress much more rapidly with Plan X, and also look at AI solutions, but we're not quite there yet. But Croydon's presentation is definitely something we're going to be looking into.